So good afternoon and welcome. My name is Dr. Trista O'Connell and I'm the Director for the Center for Scholars. And again, thank you. We are all so happy to have you join us today to learn more about the Center for Scholars at Cal State Fullerton, as well as the President's Scholars Program in particular. But before we start diving into the particulars of the program, I would first like to introduce to you the Vice President of Student Affairs, Dr. Tanat Guerra, who's going to be here to say a few words to all of you today.
Thank you, Trista. Appreciate it. But hi, Vern. How are you?
Good.
It's so good to see all the faces on the call. I appreciate you all taking the time to be here. A little bit of your early afternoon, early evening, I guess, although now with the sun going down so early, I'm not sure. But I appreciate you just taking the time to be here and learn about the wonderful programs that are occurring with our scholars and how you can support them, cheer them on. And I think more than anything, just get to know some of our students and see the good work that that Trista, Darcy, Jamie, and Kanitsa are doing with this group. And so we appreciate you taking the time. Their experience is very important to us. And we have, I think, done a wonderful job through the pandemic and now in making sure that the students feel connected, feel like they belong. And from the picture that you saw at the very beginning, we even had just a little welcome for them. Through it. So it's been nice to see them on campus. I got to visit with some of the scholars last week. I feel like all my weeks run together still, but it's just really nice to see them in the center and have them back on campus. So thank you for taking the time. But the highlight is, of course, as always, our students and the good work being done there. So appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Oseguera, for speaking to us all today. And so with that, so the rest of today's time that we're going to spend together, a few members of our staff are going to be speaking to you about the particulars of the center, as well as diving into the deeper layers of the President's Scholars Program. And the majority of the time we would like to devote to some of our students, so you can actually hear from some of the President's Scholars that we serve and that many of you here support. And so you can actually hear a little bit more from them. And then we will just wrap things up from there. So if you can go ahead, thank you so much. So to give you all some information about the Center for Scholars here at Cal State Fullerton, the overall mission of the center, is that we cultivate a culture of inclusion that embraces diversity and individual uniqueness by providing transformational learning opportunities that encourage broader learning, leadership, and personal growth. And we feel that this is not only important as students progress through each year that they're here at Cal State Fullerton, but also so that they thrive here, but also beyond graduation, and really setting them up for success as they prepare not only for their careers, but also for graduate school, medical school, law school, and so forth. In looking at the Center for Scholars model, with those transformational opportunities, we ensure that we're really focusing on honing the scholars' development academically, professionally, and personally, as well as focusing on their leadership development, and along the way really striving to ensure that we are providing them with various opportunities to build community within the Center for Scholars, as well as the President's Scholars Program, and also here at Cal State Fullerton with other peers, with faculty, and also with staff, because we know that students thrive when they are involved not only in their academics and education, but also in building very strong and successful relationships with one another. We also understand and strive to really focus on the importance of providing holistic services and support here at Cal State Fullerton in the Center for Scholars, and that it's the President Scholars model is very multifaceted in that we understand that in order for students to be successful academically, that they have to also be thriving elsewhere in their lives. And so here's where we provide them with various resources, support systems, getting them in touch with other departments and services on campus, and providing them with those various opportunities that are transformational so that they do have that success, because we understand that if they are meeting challenges where housing is concerned, or with financial issues such as having food insecurities, that this too can affect, you know, their mental health possibly, but ultimately their academics. And so this is why that we provide them with resources that are not only this one-on-one individualized support, but also that it's focusing on community as well.
Hey everyone, my name is Jamie Hamilton. I'm the Assistant Director in the Center for Scholars, and I'm going to talk a bit about the resources and support that we provide our students, our President Scholars specifically. So one of the major supports that our students benefit from is a financial support through the scholarships that they receive that pay for their tuition and campus fees. They receive those for 4 years. Additionally, they get a book stipend each semester, which is a huge relief to many of them, and they get to utilize a laptop that is provided to them by the bookstore. And so those resources together really help to support the students, help ensure that they are getting their needs met and able to really focus on their academics. And this relieves some major pressure for the students. Then we look at the support that the Center for Scholars provides through our Canvas, our physical space, but also our Canvas community, which is our virtual center, where we provide a lot of communication opportunities for the students, basically digitizing almost all that we do here in the center to provide a resource that they can access 24/7. And this also allows them to communicate with us, update us with new information, complete requirements on their schedule, which we find was pretty effective in getting the students to stay on track of everything, with everything that's going on. We know they're on Canvas completing their class requirements, so it's great for us to be in those same spaces that they are academically. We also provide them with weekly update emails. We have monthly meetings with all of our scholars. We have our advising support team where we provide them academic coaching and mentoring, guiding them through their course registration, identifying GE classes that might be useful to them, but helping them to build a broad plan that will help them meet their academic goals and utilize their time here at Cal State Fullerton successfully. We also have our study spaces here in the center, as I mentioned, and we provide free printing to our students, which we know many of them benefit from. We also coordinate social activities. So one of the ones that's coming up is our Friendsgiving with all of our scholar communities. We also have self-care activities. We just had an activity where we all were creating a talisman or painting a little figure to be a model to us, to help us stay focused or encouraged as we're working through things this semester. We also provide emergency basic needs support, and we also partner directly with counseling and psychological services here on campus to provide specific resources for our scholars. I mentioned a little bit about the academic support. A little bit more that that includes is our onboarding program for our students. They enroll in a 1-unit class that has transitional support and academic skill building within that class. But the key part is getting them acclimated to campus so that the start of the semester, they already know all their key resources. They know how to navigate campus. They've already started building a community so that when they come in fall, they're ready to take advantage of opportunities as they arrive at their feet, which often happens with our President Scholars. So they're able to say yes, get involved, get acclimated very quickly, which is a wonderful resource to them. We also are expanding our Scholar to Professional program, which is a class level programming where we tailor experiences to students based on their units earned, so that we're helping them again to ensure that they're getting the resources and developmental needs met so that they're ready to make those final decisions as we look at retention as well as graduation for our students, so they know their path towards career or grad school. They're already prepped and ready to go. They know they've identified mentors, those different types of things. So we work directly with our students in our programming, then collaboratively across campus to support that. We're happy to share that 20 of our scholars are on track to graduate this spring, which is really exciting to see more and more students meeting those goals for themselves and their families. And we also partner directly with our Present Scholars Student Association. I'm actually the advisor for that organization, and we provide support with helping them to coordinate their programs and activities on campus, identifying resources that they can utilize, as well as just other coordination across the way for them. So that is those resources. I'll pass it back to you, Trista. There we go.
Okay, thank you. So who are our President's Scholars? So in looking at a snapshot of our scholars here, the President's Scholars in particular, we see that some of the elements here in looking, let me back up, the demographics to extent mirror that of the university itself. We have 28% are Latinx, or identify as being Latinx. That's a little bit lower than the overall university. And then we have 80%, the majority are female identifying. Again, this is actually going to be a little bit higher than the university, but similar trends. 30% are first generation college students, meaning that their parents have not received a college diploma. And 30% are receiving financial aid, excuse me.
And then I'll touch a little bit on the academic performance data. So this data is from our students at the end of spring, this last spring 21. And we had 61 present scholars enrolled in the last year, and their average units completed and enrolled pretty much matched each other. Sometimes there's some variance because grades come in at interesting times. So at the time point we capture grades, sometimes their capstone classes, things like that aren't graded yet. So we find that our present scholar students do very well in completing all the units they enroll in. Their cumulative GPAs and term GPAs are always above that of our program requirement, which is a 3.5, that they are retaining and persisting. They are doing well academically and being on the Dean's List each year. So we had 72% of the scholars on the Dean's List, 72%, yes, on the Dean's List at the end of spring. And last year we had 14 students graduate, and our graduation rate, which is those that we expected to graduate this year, it's a little bit different terminology, was 100%. So we're really see strong academic performance with our President Scholars. And then the highlights below, I'll drop the links as well in the chat, maybe, if it'll let me, maybe it won't, is links to some articles that are where our President Scholars were highlighted last year. So the first article shown there is highlighting the class this last year and has some stories from the graduating students, particularly Asha Bhattacharya. And then one of our incoming scholars also had an article, Krisha Marie Uwe had an article as well written about her in the campus news. So it's always wonderful to see our students achieving highly, getting out there in the campus media and accomplishing some wonderful things. And I know we'll see more of that throughout this year as well as our students come back and engage on campus.
Our Center for Scholars team is actually pretty robust here. You'll be meeting one additional person in just a moment. But there's myself and Jamie, the director and assistant director. We also have, we're very fortunate actually to have a retention specialist, Miguel Reyna here for the Center for Scholars students and for special populations. Typically, the retention specialists are actually housed in the academic colleges. And so we are very special, very unique in this respect, in that we actually have one who is dedicated just to our students. So you think about how many students are in each of the colleges, you're looking at, in some cases, thousands of students. And here we have, you know, roughly about 400 or so, between 300 and 400. We also have 2 graduate assistants, and they're actually currently in the higher education program here. And so they are training to become student services professionals themselves, like the staff here. We also are fortunate in that we have someone from CAPS, and CAPS actually stands for counseling and psychological services here. And so we have a liaison who's assigned to our scholars so that if they do need to speak with someone one-on-one, immediately they are able to do so, and we can actually do a virtual walkover with them, and they can be seen immediately. Alex also provides a series of workshops and opportunities for students to meet and talk about everything from time management to stress, to dealing with test taking anxiety, and so on and so forth. And that is throughout the semester and academic year. We also have an administrative support coordinator who we are looking at onboarding very, very soon. And we also have an academic advising specialist, Kanitsa Carrillo, and we have our senior program coordinator, Darcy Anderson, who is actually going to be taking the reins here in just a second, and she'll be facilitating the student panel. And so with that, again, we have a very robust team here who are skilled at a variety of areas, and so that we can make sure that we're providing our students here with individualized, holistic support so that they can thrive, again, academically here at Cal State Fullerton and beyond. And Darcy, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you so that you can introduce the scholars.
Thank you so much, Dr. O'Connell. Hi, everyone. Thank you again so much for being here with us for this open house today. As Trista mentioned, I am Darcy Anderson. I'm the Senior Program Coordinator here in the Center for Scholars. I do academic and non-academic program planning, as well as academic advising and planning with our students. I'm also the facilitator of foster friendly ally training on our campus. So I serve in a lot of different ways for our students. And one of the great ways I love to do is we get to interact with our students during events like this. Today, we actually have 4 incredible scholars. One of our scholars was not able to make it. That is Sunny Bianchi, but we have 4 other incredible scholars here in the room who are going to be sharing about some of their experiences as a President's Scholar tied to the Center for Scholars. So we have Brittany Delgado, Rumi Gerler, Allison Kataoka, and Kira Mystery. So what we're going to go ahead and do is stop sharing screens so that everyone can see who these incredible supporters are in the house. And so scholars, what I'd love for you to start with is each just take turns introducing yourself. Let us know what your name is, your major, your class level, and some of your career interests. Let's start there. Of the 4 of my amazing scholars in this room, who would like to go first? Brittany, hey, perfect, thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Brittany Delgado and I am a senior this year and I'm majoring in real estate finance. And what I hope to become, or what some of my career aspirations are, to become an analyst for a real estate asset management position, or to go into brokerage.
Great, Brittany, thank you so much. Who is next?
I can go next. So my name is Allison Kataoka, and I am double majoring in psychology and communication disorders, while also triple minoring in human services, sociology, and business marketing. I'm a junior here on campus, and my career aspirations are to be either a school psychologist working in the high schools or a pediatric psychologist working in elementary schools. I haven't decided, leaning towards the older ones because they're less sticky.
Thank you so much, Allison. Kira, I saw you had unmuted right at the same time as Allison, so why don't you go next?
Sure, Allison and I are always on the same wavelength. Hi everyone, my name is Kira Mystery. I am a 3rd-year President's Scholar, and my majors are political science and history. My career aspirations, well, I definitely want to go to law school, but following that, I'm still on the fence like Allison. I'm either gonna go into military law and work on reforming that system, or working in the appellate law side. So
Thanks so much, Kira. And Rumi, how about you?
Hi everyone, my name is Rumisa Gerler, but I go by Rumi, and I am a first-year scholar, and I am majoring in biochemistry, and I'm exploring the veterinary pathway.
Well, thank you so much, Rumi. It's great to have the four of you here. So this next part, you can feel free to unmute and share and bounce off one another. But first off, let's start with, and I know we've got all class levels represented, right? So we've got from first year all the way up to getting ready to graduate next semester. But can you share some of your best experiences with the Center for Scholars, whether that might be an event, academic, social, a program like I Am First, something that connected with the center and the classroom, or other leadership roles you've been able to take on because of being connected here as a President Scholar?
I can talk about the, what was it called? Smart Start. Our class was the first one to experience that. Unfortunate for the last two classes, it's been virtual, but, or I guess the last one wasn't, but we were in person, and it was a really fun experience because I know that's when the President's Scholars and the Center for Scholars was also starting to become more of a kind of larger organization working together. And it was a really great experience to meet scholars, not only in our cohort, but also in the different scholar groups. And it was like a week-long event. We got to stay on campus, and being a commuter student, it was nice to have that experience, even if it was for 4 days. And so it was a really great time. And it was nice to have that kind of space where I got to meet a lot of the different scholars, because, you know, our meetings aren't obviously the same and things like that. We're also doing our own, you know, little paths, each of us. So it was really nice to have that. And now when we're in the center together, it's like, hey, like, you know, let's hang out, and we have these little moments. So it was really nice in highlighting that.
Thank you so much, Kira. Who else would like to share?
I could go ahead and share.
Great, Brittany, thank you.
So in President Scholars, I feel like I've been able to really get involved with the service, with more of our service events. We've done quite a few. I've been able to help clean up the harbors down in Newport Beach with our group, and even cleaning up Craig Park. And then I would say one of my favorite events was serving an Orange County 5K run for women who had lost their child during birth. And that run was it was a really great event to work, just because it exposed me to other causes, and I got to meet like a lot of different people in the community that are affected by you know, losing their child. And I feel like that kind of brought us a lot closer together as a scholar community, because we're going out there and actually talking to people. And yeah, that was my favorite event.
Thank you so much, Brittany.
One of the resources that I am most thankful for that the center provides is mentorship. So on day one, we're given 2 mentors, one for our major and one for our personality. And they're always upperclassmen, so they know the ropes of the college and the major. So one of mine was a psychology major, and she was already doing research on campus, and that was something I had always wanted to do. So I knew I needed to work closely with her to get in a lab and figure out which professor would accept me. And she actually introduced me to a professor who was doing research that I was not interested in at all, but it ended up being the perfect fit for me. So now I'm doing research on the legal system and prejudice with racial bias. So it's something I would never have been involved in if it weren't for my mentor that the Scholars program provided.
Great, thank you so much, Allison. Rumi, is there, I know you're first year, this is like your first semester on campus, but is there anything so far that you've really enjoyed in being connected?
Yeah, I actually also wanted to say the Smart Start that really helped me. And I actually really loved how it was online because I was visiting family friends all the way in the East Coast. So if it was in person, I wouldn't have been able to like make it and I wouldn't have met all of my great scholar friends. So that really helped me out.
Awesome, Rumi. We're so glad. And so, see, we do have some advantages to things being virtual sometimes, right? Able to connect when sometimes we're a little bit further away. Thank you all for sharing there. I do want to just take a brief moment to also say hi to Julie Vergie, who is also joining us today, who happens to be, tied into this President Scholars aspect. Julie is very involved with our scholars, from things like our incredible welcome that we did at the very beginning of the semester to things like Frams Fam, and is always coming to hang out. So Julie, thank you so much for being here with us.
Absolutely. One of the things that that I know these scholars are so involved in is everything. We have president's scholars that work in the president's office, which is huge. Brittany's one of our alums, and I mean, they see it all. Okay, good, bad, great, ugly, crazy. They are amazing helpers in all that we do, and we are definitely indebted to each and every one of them. The other thing is these scholars do not sit still, everybody. They are all part of clubs. Usually they're the president or the co-pres of the club. They have their hands and feet in every aspect of our campus. And I just love that. So Kira, I'm going to call you out. Kira is the co-pres for our TED Talk, TED times CSUF event that they had it during COVID, but we just had it live and Darcy spoke. I mean, it was incredible. It was so professional. And Kira, you guys pulled it all together and it was awesome. Brittany, I know is, and you got to correct me if I'm wrong, but in a club in College of Business, whether it's the women leadership or something else, Britt, I can't remember. But I know you are all so involved, and everywhere I go on campus, there's a president scholar. So it's reassuring. This is the class that just impresses the socks off of all of us all the time. One thing I want to say is we started this little organization. Well, actually the students started it. It's #FramsFam. In the past, the president's scholars really didn't know the president very well. And one of the assumptions or unwritten rules was that the president at some point in your college career, if you needed it, would write you a letter of recommendation. And this particular president said, well, I can't write a letter of rec if I don't know this individual. So I want to know these students. And so about once every 5-6 weeks, and it alters, it varies during the time of day and the week of the day, but we just invite all the scholars over for, this last time we did pumpkin bagels for October, or coming up, it's pie, everybody. So no secrets there. But, whether they just come for a burrito or for some breakfast, it's the best. We sit around for about an hour. Students can come and go as they want to. And we feed them, of course, because if there's food, John's smiling, I know. If there's food, they will come. And I try to make it really user-friendly. And when I say that, it's like grab an orange, grab a milk or a juice and a bagel. And if you need to run to your next class, by all means, go do it. But we're just happy to have that touch point and that time with them. We love them to pieces. So keep up the good work, scholars.
Thank you so much, Julie. And everything you're saying ties in really to the next question we have for our scholars, right? And you touched on a few of these with Kira and Brittany. But scholars, I want you to share about some achievements that you have experienced, both at CSUF or in the larger world, because I know some of you have some incredible internships and jobs going on right now. And how has being connected into the Center for Scholars contributed to your success in those ways?
I would like to go first.
Yeah, Brittany, absolutely.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Julie, for kind of shouting me out there. That was actually one of the things that I wanted to talk about today. I would say my biggest accomplishment because of Presidential Scholars was being able to work in the president's office. I pretty much worked there for half my college, from the first month of my freshman year to probably almost the last month of my sophomore year. And I feel like working in the office gave me a lot of skills that I did not have before. Often I would work with, guests who come in, and I knew that I had to hold myself to like a certain expectation of professionalism. And I really enjoyed learning kind of how things run up in the office, like what our school represents. And I kind of tried to hold myself to the status of what the staff up there worked with, because they were just so like inspiring with how hard they worked. And so I feel like that in itself was an accomplishment for me, because that set me up for my future. Because now this past summer, I was actually able to work with the second largest pension plan in the real estate investments group. It's called CalSTRS. And I feel like because of the experience that I've had and like the jobs I've worked, including the president's office, that set me up nicely. I kind of was very confident when I'm presenting or when I'm speaking to certain CEOs or CFOs. So yeah, I think I say I owe it to the president's office a lot.
Awesome, Brittany. Thank you so much for sharing about that, right? What incredible experiences that had you not worked there, you might not have ever had the chance to connect with, right? And learning, those hands-on learning experiences, sometimes the best ways that we can learn. Other scholars, what are some achievements that you're really proud of? I know that there are massive ones, but I'm gonna let you share and not just call you out.
Go ahead, Kira. I cut you off last time.
No, I wanted you to go first. Go.
I mean, if you insist. One thing that I am really proud of is the current job that I have. It's my favorite job ever. I work in a high school with the at-risk youth. So those are the ones who are not on track to graduate due to mental health or just the lack of support at home. So I invest way more time of my life than I ever thought I would working with those students. I'm with them 9+ hours a day, every single day of the week, working to get their grades up. And Darcy can attest to this. I'm always in her Zoom asking for advice on how to handle these students who give me the most bizarre problems, and they give me lots of headaches, but it is the most rewarding job ever, because they'll come into my classroom and tell me, oh my gosh, Miss Allison, I got a B+ on this exam that we studied for. Aren't you so proud of me? Please give me a bag of goldfish for my reward. Of course, I'll give you your goldfish. So the high schoolers are hilarious and they make me proud. But being in the Center for Scholars allows me to have that confidence to work with a different community, because I'm surrounded by people who are struggling and I have the resources to ask. So I know I've asked Jamie and Darcy and Kanitza for advice on how to work with these students, and modeling how they interact with us and our issues is something that I reflect into my own work. So that's something I'm very proud of and very thankful for the center.
Thank you so much, Allison, for sharing. And anytime, you can always hop into my Zoom and ask advice. Kira, you and Allison are competing for Zoom time right now. So go ahead and share out, friend.
Yeah, like you said, always on the same page. First of all, thank you, Julie, for shouting out that club. Yeah, it's definitely, we wanted to create something that allowed the voices of, students and faculty and staff at Cal State Fullerton to be able to speak about. So that's why we created, a TEDx program. And our lovely Darcy was one of our speakers this year. But there was definitely a couple of things I wanted to just mention, not only involving myself, but some of our other amazing president scholars who aren't on this call. I am part of the moot court team, which is basically a simulation of appellate law. So it's a mock Supreme Court. It happens every fall. Last fall was my first time on the team. And there's actually 4 president scholars on this team. It's myself, Ian Finley, Emery Saloisi, and Kristen Sinks. And the other 3 are all in our senior class. And last year, our school, Cal State Fullerton, we're competing against schools like Yale, Duke, University of Chicago, really high up schools. And we were ranked number 7 in the country, which is pretty freaking awesome. Excuse my language. But after our performances last year, we are now number 2 in the nation. Ian and I were partners. We got first place at a regional tournament, which our school has only accomplished once before. Amaris and Kristen were 4th in the nation for brief writing, so writing a complete brief on our case. And this season, I just competed this last weekend, literally. We ranked 5th at our regional tournament. We have a bid to go to nationals, and Ian and Kristen also competed this last weekend. And Ian and Amaris will be competing in 2 weeks' time, and I'm sure they're going to do amazing. But it's just to show like all of our President's Scholars are doing amazing things. We're all doing these things together too. And then another thing I wanted to shout out is this cool internship I've been able to get. It's with this organization. They're a nonprofit based in DC called Protect Our Defenders. And they primarily work in the military justice system, assisting individuals who've been sexually assaulted or harassed. And, the different circumstances with our normal civil court system versus the military justice system are completely different. And so being able to work with these clients directly has been a very eye-opening and humbling experience, and has really kind of shaped where I want to take my career as well. And so a lot of this I can attest to the help of the Center for Scholars and Darcy and Jamie and Kanitza and everyone, and just constantly helping me figure out looking over my resume or helping me figure out what things need to be in order for me to get these opportunities.
Thank you so much, Kira. I also want to give Kira an extra little bump with that TEDx, because not only did her club bring in folks from our campus, she brought folks in from all across the country. So it wasn't just, an in-house thing. And all of those other things with the moot court and your internship, which I'm so glad you mentioned, because if you didn't, I was going to mention it. We're so excited and great, and such a great way to shout out your fellow President's Scholars as well. Thank you so much. Rumi, is there anything you want to share with us? Again, we know it's first year. We are like in week 12, friend. So please don't feel any pressure, but I also want to give you a space to share.
There isn't a lot going on right now. I'm in the process of applying to a bunch of veterinary internships to be like assistants. But yeah, I feel like very thankful because I always have you guys here to help me out for anything, and my mentors. So yeah, that's what's going on.
Awesome. Great. Keep us posted on those internships for sure. We are excited to hear about how those go. So for our junior and senior in the room, and even for Kira and Rumi who are thinking, future casting, right? Part of what we do in the center is we think about the future. We plan for today. We think about the future, right? So for Brittany and Allison, thinking about next steps, what are the plans after graduation right now? Do we have a particular grad school in mind? Do we have a different kind of professional program? What are we thinking about in regards to that? And Kira, also, you're also a junior. Hello. So what are we thinking about as far as those kind of grad school, post-undergrad plans?
I could go. So I plan to apply to deferred MBA programs. My dream school is to go to the Wharton School of Business at UPenn. And so I'm in the process of paying for, GRE prep because I need a high score. So I really want to make sure I have really great test scores so that I could get into their deferred program of 2 to 4 years. And I actually have an interview next week for JLL, which is a brokerage and investment manager for real estate. And this is going to be a job for right after graduation. So I'm hoping I get it. But yeah, I'm going to be interviewing next week. And if JLL doesn't work out, I've applied to a few different other private equity companies. and investment managers. And so that's kind of my plan for now.
Awesome, Brittany. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Yeah, that GRE, right?
Suggestion on that. Suggestion for her is to also talk to one of our donors, Jeff Van Hart, because that's what he does. And he runs the stock exchange group over at Cal State Fullerton. And he's also a major donor to President's Scholars. So that might be he's in San Francisco. San Francisco, he's a great tie to the scholar program.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Vern.
Sure.
He's actually he's actually at Fullerton more than he is in San Francisco these days.
This is true.
You could probably find him hanging around campus too.
Yeah. Or we can make that happen. If you get a hold of me, I can find him for you.
Yeah, I will. Thank you, Vern.
No problem.
And it's things like this is why we bring you all together, right? Connections, making connections, which is fantastic. Thanks again for sharing, Brittany. And Vern, thank you for making that connection begin. Allison or Kira, you want to share about what kind of our next steps are? I know we're in that junior space. I understand. And I know we're still making some decisions about the future. Do we have a dream school in mind? Do we have a dream internship? What are our thoughts?
Yeah, I'll step in. So I previously mentioned it. I'm interested in attending law school. But as of now, I'm planning on taking a year off after I graduate to enter the policy scene, hopefully in DC. I actually am planning to do the DC Scholars Program this summer. So hopefully I'll be going, if things work out, I'll be going to DC this summer. But yeah, so that's the plan. But in terms of law school, I mean, I always tell people, it depends on what my LSAT is and my GPA at the time, but the goal would be Columbia. It's kind of like a dream school, so we'll see.
Awesome, Kira. Thank you so much.
Right. And then my current job totally threw me a left field because I did not want to work in high schools when I entered college. And now that I'm working with these students and I'm hands-on with them, I'm planning on becoming a high school psychologist. And in order to do that, I want to get my education specialist degree, which is the EdS. It's something I'm totally unfamiliar with, and I just discovered after researching for a bit. But I saw that Chapman has a really good program for the EdS, and that is where I'm dreaming to go. But who knows what this next year will throw at me, because I am the most indecisive person. And with all my majors and minors, I've opened up so many doors that I'm confusing myself. But right now, high school psychology is the dream at Chapman.
Awesome, Allison. Thank you so much. And just remember, it's, you know, maybe reframing, not about confusing yourself, but you're looking at a lot of opportunities, and there are a lot of different paths to get to the same place. And again, you are going to be able to talk about so many different kinds of experiences and contexts with those students. All of the things you are doing are going to come into play. Trust me, it's about those transferable skills, and I know that you've got them. So awesome. Rumi, veterinary medicine, right? In California, we only have a couple schools, but is there a dream school that we're thinking about for veterinary medicine?
Yeah, my dream school is actually UC Davis. It's in California, the one in California.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll have a better idea when I'm a junior, senior of when to apply. And I'm thinking of definitely studying every summer for my GRE, because I need a high score to get into that school. Yeah.
Fantastic. I love it. I was like, I didn't want to be like UC Davis, and you're like, no, but UC Davis. Fantastic. Thank you all for sharing about that. And you've all kind of touched on this a little bit, but, you know, thinking about entering the workforce, right? And so sometimes it's about, you know, hey, I'm taking this next step into a job after graduation. But what kinds of like jobs will you be seeking? Like, yes, we can do law, we can be a lawyer, but really maybe who are your dream clients, your dream firms to be part of when we're thinking about business and financing, things like that.
Switch it up. So for myself, I briefly mentioned that I was interested in working in policy. I think that there's a lot, I mean, I'm definitely not someone who wants to do politics, but I definitely think that the behind the scenes work is very interesting and something I kind of wanted to at least be able to dip my toe into the water before entering law school. I mean, truly law is what I want to do. And I mentioned it at the beginning a little bit, doing this internship has really kind of opened my eyes into this military justice system. And compared to the system that we're all pretty much familiar with, you know, if you commit a crime, you go to court, you know, there's a judge, there's a jury. It's not like that. And I didn't realize it. I mean, even when you learn about it in your, as a poli-sci major in your poli-sci classes, they just say, okay, this is our civil court system. And then, you know, there's the military court system, never really diving into it. And doing this internship has made me realize, oh, there's some problems. And I want to be a part of that, you know, kind of solution around it, you know, helping our servicemen and women. So that's definitely something that I've kind of been inclined to lean towards, but also doing moot court. I kind of love appellate law. I love that brief writing process and arguing. So there's a lot of options, but definitely some of the things I'm thinking about.
Thank you so much, Kira. Anyone else want to share? Again, we know we touch on some of these things.
Yeah, I would say that my dream, I guess, company is BlackRock, and I've already applied to them in their Santa Monica office. And then, of course, JLL, so I'm going to be interviewing with them. But yeah, I just have just those two for now.
Fantastic, Brittany. Thank you so much. Allison, I know you're still deciding on school site which direction we are going. Is there maybe with high school, do you think you still want to work with like at-risk youth, or are you thinking about moving into other arenas?
Well, just like Kira said, we are always on the same page, and I see so many issues within the school district that I work in. So I'm leaning more towards an Ed-S because that will allow me to move up into the administrative position within the district and be more hands-on on how these problems are solved, not just school-wide, but district-wide, so I can help more students all at once. But yes, at-risk students are something I'm very passionate about. Even during high school, I was working with these same at-risk students as a student mentor, working with them in a specific class period, getting them to get their homework done. But it's so much more than just academics. It's also their personal and home lives that are affected. So one of the biggest things to me is showing up and being that one person in their life that is there every single day so that they know they're not in it alone. So my dream is definitely the at-risk youth, but ultimately working in the administrative position in the district so I can make these big changes and help the students that are falling between the cracks right in front of our eyes. And the teachers and principals don't have control over it because that's not really in their job description.
Hey, Allison, thank you so much. And then Rumi, with veterinary, are we thinking our own practice? Do we want to work with big cats? Like what level of animals are we hoping to work with?
I right now thinking just pets, like smaller, just general, but that might change. I don't know. I have a cat and I like I love him very much and I want him to like stay safe. So maybe that's influencing me right now, but maybe in the future something might change.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Rumi. I really appreciate scholars, all of you sharing such incredible information about your experiences as a President Scholar and with the Center for Scholars. So thank you again for being here. Everyone in the room, let's give them a big round of applause and thank them for their time in being here. We're getting ready to finish up here. So we just have a little bit more to share with you. So I'm going to hand it back over to Trista O'Connell.
Okay, thank you, Darcy. Thank you, President Scholars. It was awesome hearing from each and every one of you. Every time I hear from you, I always learn a little bit more because you're not always sharing everything with me when I see you. So that was great. So thank you. Actually, I'm going to be turning it over to Megan now for that last one of the last couple of slides so she can talk a little to you on behalf of university advancement.
Thank you, Trista. And thank you to all of our scholars. You continue to impress me, and I'm sure all of us on this call every time I hear from you. So it's always exciting. I just wanted to pop in real quick and tell you guys a little bit about the scholarship programs. And most of our donors on our call today know a lot about this already, but if you don't, the cost for a President's Scholar support for the year is $7,700. And that includes their tuition for both semesters, all of the fees, and then a book stipend. And then, as Jamie mentioned earlier, there's also the laptop program, which is great. So we really try to set our President Scholars up with everything that they need to be successful. Other ways that you can support are through, contributing to activities like graduation activities, career prep activities, things like that really just kind of help round out the President Scholars program. And then Emergency Basic Needs really supports the Center for Scholar Students as a whole. These are grants that Center for Scholars students can apply for, that if they just need that extra little bit to help them when they need it the most. If you have any questions about contributing to the President Scholars program, please feel free to reach out to myself or Katie McGill. She couldn't be here today, but her information is on the screen here. And anything else you need, we're here for you.
Thank you, Megan. Okay, and with that, we actually are right on the dot at finishing. And so thank you again for each and every one of you to be here today. And also thank you again for your continued generosity to support the President's Scholars. I know each and every one of them truly appreciates this gift that you're giving them and continued support. So thank you again. I'd also like to give another final shout out to our First Lady of Cal State Fullerton, Julie Vergie, for being here today, and also to Vice President Oseguera, who was here earlier and spoke to you. And thanks again to each and every one of you. It was wonderful getting to see some of you and chat with you all. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or to Katie in advancement, and we can answer your questions. So thank you again and have a wonderful evening.